anything can happen. So yeah, just keep chasing possibilities.
Welcome to the Pixel Paper Podcast, a series where we get to know the creative processes behind up-and-coming digital artists. My name is Noor, graphic designer and work-in-progress artist, and I'll be your host for this series. Welcome to another episode of the podcast where today's guest is a multicultural globe trotter. Brian Ko is originally from South Korea. He grew up in South India and he learned illustration from the south of the UK in London. Sorry, I just had to make that match. Brian Ko talks us through his really fascinating life, how he developed his illustration career, and how his multiple cultural identities have influenced him and his craft. This is it is the most unique episode we've had so far just because of how many tangents we go on and how interesting Brian's experiences are. And on top of that, it's more unique because we actually did an interview in Korean. So I just asked him a few questions in Korean, and you can check it out on YouTube where there will be subtitles, so you can just listen to him from a different perspective and hear what he has to say. The link will be in the description, or you can check the Instagram, Pixel Paper Podcast, where the link will be in the bio. It's not a super long video, but if you are interested, you can check it out. With that, I hope you will enjoy this English interview with Brian Ko. Hi Brian, how are you?
I know, I'm good. How are you?
I'm good, thank you so much. So for the sake of our audience, can you please introduce yourself?
All right. So hi, I'm Joon Ho Ko, aka Bekologic. I'm an illustrator. I studied in England and came back, currently based in Korea. Basically drawing is what I do, my hobby, everything I've known of. And all my drawings are about myself and how my perception of the environment around me, and I try to reflect them and reflect them into my drawings. Basically, that's what I do.
That's really cool. And I think the reason I wanted to interview you is not just because your drawings are really, really good, but also your cultural background really fascinated me. So could you tell us a bit more about that?
Yeah, till when I was 15, I lived in Korea, 14-ish. Lived in Korea, and then I moved to India, more specifically Chennai, because my dad was sent from the company to work there, and then I lived there for 5.5 years, and then for the university I moved to London, more specifically Kingston, I would say. Yeah, I studied there. That's how my cultural background is. So yeah.
Wow, that's fascinating.
Multicultural thing that I have.
Yeah, definitely. No, that's really cool. So you lived in India, but I read that you didn't like it at first. Did you come to enjoy it eventually?
It's not like I didn't like the culture and the country. It was a transition. It was like that rapid transition. Like I didn't have much time to prepare for the new environment. It was all in sudden to move there. It was like the decision was made like within the month.
Wow.
I only had like a month time to prepare for giving up everything in Korea. Friends, what I've been studying, what I've been thinking about the future, everything has been changed. So I was quite in black when I moved to India. That's how I didn't like really enjoy the culture and everything. I still really love the food. I mean, the only thing that like really relieved me was the food in Chennai. Frankly, like yeah, it was really good. I mean, that was the one biggest thing that that helped me through the time in India at first. But then I began to like the culture really. It's really different, and it's everything was like all new to me. like it always happens when you face something new. It's just at first you just don't really feel it, and then you get used to it, and then you come to like it, and then that's how it goes. So that was the same for me too.
Yeah, and it was like at a time that's really kind of pivotal for everyone because you moved at 14, 15. That's like a really tough time anyway, you know.
Yeah, puberty.
Yeah, exactly. Do you think that Indian culture has come to influence you and your art?
Definitely, yes, yes. Well, in Korea, first of all, everything I would say is in the box. Everything is, all the buildings are just, squares. It's all about the squares and simplicity here in Korea. But then, India isn't much like that. There's a lot of temples, you know, more vibrant environments. Like, there's much trees, a lot of natural things, and that was the fascinating thing for me. And everything in India is quite how to put it, uh, you know, it's quite really mixed up.
Uh-huh.
I don't know if it's the right word to say, but
Yeah, no, I understand.
everything is like really jumbled up,
Yes, yes.
harmoniously.
Uh-huh.
There's it's quite the cultural color of the culture is quite strong there, but there is like a lot of culture mixed in it. I would say that's the Indian culture, but there's like a lot of people. It's a big country, so a lot of things going on there, and that's all just harmoniously mixed up, and I really liked about that, and that's how my drawings now are quite complicated, but I try to find the harmony uh, inside them,
Yeah.
between them.
No, that's really interesting. I think it must have been a big change, especially because Korea is such a homogenous society, and then you go to India, which is just very multicultural and diverse.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but having said that, I've found that actually South Indian culture, in particular Tamil culture, it's quite similar to Korean culture. Do you think the same from your experience?
I found some languages the same, especially Amma and Appa is the same, and a lot of other words are the same. I don't remember it now because it's been like 8 years now. But yeah, well, the culture, I really didn't feel like it's similar. I mean, those two are similar, but there's definitely something very egoistic.
Egoistic. Oh, that's an interesting word.
Egoistic, if it's, I don't know if it's the right word.
What do you mean by that?
Wait, let me search. Uh, Confucian.
Confucian. Okay, okay. Like
Yeah,
very
Confucian culture
okay.
is quite similar, I would
Like
say.
the hierarchy kind of thing?
Yeah, the hierarchy.
Yeah.
That was the
Yeah,
point.
that's true. I think that's probably a pan-Asia thing. It's like if you
Yeah, yeah,
compare Asian and Western culture, Asia is very much like hierarchy kind of.
yeah.
Yeah, true. And you mentioned also the colors of India, like India is very colorful. And I
Yes,
feel like
yes,
your
definitely.
artwork, I wouldn't say it's colorful, but you do have a lot of bright colors and things like that. So, I
Oh
mean,
yeah, the color. Yeah,
yeah.
colors are the biggest inspiration that I got from India too. It's very vibrant, and when you go into temple, like one of the most inspirational thing for me was that when you go to temple on the ground, there's like I don't know like the exact name for it, but there's like a sand art they've done. I knew the name, but yeah, that was like really inspiring, and like this geometric shapes and looks
Uh-huh.
was a big inspiration.
Cool. Wow. Yeah, I mean, it sounds like you've really taken a lot from there.
Yeah, like once I was really into henna, like
Uh-huh.
the tattoo thing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So yeah, I used to do that too.
Oh, really?
Not on my body,
Oh,
on the
okay.
wall.
Okay.
Yeah. because I went to a backpack trip to Himalayas, and I came to get one of those henna, the liquids, and yeah, that's what I used to do in the free time around the trip.
Yeah, that's cool. That's interesting. And your artwork, it has like a very bold and dynamic style. So how did you come to this style? Did it take a long time, or was it just innate, natural?
It does take a long time. One thing that I do is that I put a lot of thought into one drawing. It looks complicated and otherwise it's simple, you know, but I try to convey a lot of meanings in that. I know a lot of people, I don't think a lot of people catch it, but there's actually a lot of meaning. And, to convey all those meanings that I want to put into my drawings, it has to be quite complicated. And there's gonna be a lot of objects mixed up, like jumbled up. How I said about the Indian culture and how I think about it. It's all the same. Yeah. So,
okay.
Yeah, there's a lot of thing going on.
And do you think that the viewer should understand the meaning behind the work, or it's just for you?
I don't know. Well, depends. I don't exactly think everyone should understand what I do. It's just hopefully they do, but I know it's hard to just look at it and understand everything that I think. So that's just my hopes.
Yeah, no. I think sometimes, like, I'm looking through your website now, and I think sometimes it's clear and sometimes it's kind of a bit more abstract, even though the shapes themselves may represent a person or an animal or something. I guess it's just the intent of the image, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, cool. And what's your art process like? I mean, how do you start the piece and how do you get to the final result?
First thing is, like, in my everyday life, I always think about the drawing, like what to do next and what to draw. And everything I see, I think about how to put them into my drawings. It sounds quite geeky, but I do. So that's how I start. I started thinking about like what to draw and how to combine them and make them look good. And then I just start drawing. I don't really do much sketching. I just think while I draw. I start off with like finishing one object and what to do, like how to decorate them. And that's how my process go. I used to do the hand drawing much. Hand drawing, I mean, with a pencil and actual objects. But then, as you might already know, I moved a lot. Even in the same country, I moved like from here to there, Korea to India, India to UK, UK back to India, and then back to Korea for the army, back to UK. That was like my 10 years moving. Like every 2 years I had to move 2 or 1 year. Like I never had like a solid place to stay.
Wow.
So that's how I moved to digital. Like while I was moving, every art was the art tools that I had. I kind of like leave it to my friends and then move. So I couldn't buy like everything like every time. So digital was like, that's how I started digital, because it's convenience.
Right.
I just have to bring my computer and then tablet. That's all.
That's really interesting. But are you settled now in one place, would you say, or no?
I wouldn't say, because it's kind of like my jinx. Like every 2 years, I have to move somehow. I don't really feel, fine staying at one place. So even for this house that I'm living now, our contract is for 2 years.
Okay.
I don't know what's gonna happen next. It's quite interesting too. It's quite fascinating to think about like where I should go and what I should see and what I'm going to experience.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I think a lot of anyone who's listening who's kind of like yourself, like a third generation immigrant, like they can kind of relate to that, because I have a lot of friends, because living in the Middle East, everyone's I live in Dubai, by the way. I don't know if I told you.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so living in the Middle East, everyone's kind of an expat, so everyone's kind of like a floating bubble, so it's kind of relatable what you were saying about yeah. So digital kind of came about just out of convenience then.
Yeah, it's a convenient thing. Well, it's quite simple.
Yeah.
I just need a program, computer. I can work anywhere I want, and it's quite easy to fix anything that I do wrong.
Control Z.
Yes, Control Z. And it's easy to send my works to the clients.
Yeah.
That's what they prefer. They want something to be fixed, and then it's easy to make implements. Yeah.
That's interesting. And you just mentioned clients, so I have another question actually. How do you know what client work to take on? Like, do you just take on anything, or are you selective about your client work?
I used to send a lot my portfolios to a lot of the potential clients. Of course, I didn't get reply from like any of them. Like 1 out of 100, 200 would answer back.
Yeah,
but still,
yeah,
I would still send the proposal. And then the point is, I don't. As a freelance illustrator, you don't expect anyone to answer you back.
Yeah, of course.
when it's not appointed.
Yeah.
But the point is that you keep trying, and you keep trying to show people what you do, and tell people what you can do, and then, well, eventually they'll find you, because it's in their memory now. Like, well, there's a possibility that they didn't read the email at all, but there's also a possibility they read the email, but they didn't want to reply you back. And then if they read the email and seen your work, and they just didn't want to reply you back, that it's in their memory. So one day, if they need something, they could come back to you. And God knows what, they might have shown their friends my work, and their friends liked my work, and then they wanted to give me a work, and that's how I got the work. And anything can happen. So yeah, just keep chasing possibilities.
That's a good advice, definitely. I think because people, if they're, for example, applying for jobs, like, you can send out hundreds of applications, but you start getting quite depressed, when you're not hearing things back.
Yeah, it was quite depressing for me too. But like, it's been 2.5 years since I've graduated from the uni. And then it's quite normal for 2 years for the freelance illustrators to have a hard time. Yeah, it's quite normal. 2 years. 2 years is just it's a hurdle. It's a hurdle.
Hurdle, yeah.
Yeah, it's a hurdle. 2 years is a hurdle. After that, if you still don't get any, nothing, still don't get depressed. Keep trying.
Yeah.
Because once you start getting the work, and then that's a boom. You'll be bombarded with all the work. You actually have to choose to make time to work on specific things.
Yeah, I guess it's just pushing through until you see the light at the end of the tunnel. Yeah. And what made you want to choose illustration for uni?
Well, I actually didn't think of this kind of illustration when I started, when I thought of going to Kingston, because what I was interested in was game arts, like concept
art.
Yeah, concept arts, because I was really interested in depicting the realistic things, like realistically looking sci-fi things.
Wow.
So when I thought illustration, I was thinking game illustration. So I was hoping that I could learn the game illustration in Kingston, but it was definitely not their taste in Kingston. So yeah, at first I was quite confused. I didn't really, specifically thinking of like exactly game arts. I was also interested in fashion, so I applied for fashion design to not only in the UK, also in the US. Fine arts was one of my interests too. So I wasn't really sure about like illustration, but then Kingston, they had illustration and animation BA course. So my hopes were learning animation too, 3D animation. I wanted to make those awesome game trailers that I see every day on YouTube. But it was quite, it was a wrong hope. So I was confused. I was confused at first, but then I started to, when I first saw all those, hand drawn illustrations, I didn't really feel fascinated. I really thought like only the realistic drawings were the real drawings at that time. So I used to think that illustrations were like a childish thing, what kids would like. I looking at all those amazing artists in Kingston, I came to really feel interested, like from the second grade, and then the second year, and then I really fell into it. Yeah, I started, searching for all those illustrators around the world, and then, yeah, I really see more possibility to grow as an illustrator in the real illustration, real illustration. Yeah, because I thought game arts doing the game arts, there was like some kind of limit to how much I can do, because at some point when you reach like at some point doing a realistic drawing that ends there. There's much design, and it's probably something that I don't know, but yeah, I love illustration. I started liking illustrations more while I was studying in Kingston, and then yeah, that's how I end up doing this, chasing my own style.
Yeah, that's really cool. I mean, like going from wanting to do concept art to kind of finding yourself doing illustration. Yeah, I think that's really interesting, especially because you actually have a very conceptual style. So I would have thought that you would have had this since you were younger, kind of thing. Like I would never have thought you'd have been a realistic kind of artist. I mean, what were you like growing up? What kind of art did you make?
What kind of art did I make?
Yeah, like was it more realistic or was it more
My
conceptual?
ma was a designer, product
Oh,
designer.
okay.
Well, I was obviously really interested in drawing while I was growing up, and then the drawings that I made, I might still have my Flickr account that I posted my old drawings, but they're all just copying the photo, realistic drawings, and a bit of cartoony drawings too.
So, how was your experience in Kingston? What was it like moving from India to the UK? How did you find living in the UK?
Kingston was really good. I mean, the tutors were like really really good. I did. I didn't think at first, to be honest, because as I said, I didn't really like the style of Kingston, or illustrative styles. I didn't really like. But then, while studying there, like the students who studies there were truly amazing. I don't know if you know, but Joy Yu, Charlotte Aga, Asia, and who else? Tess. Tess Smith Roberts. She was there too. A lot of like the good artists were there, and I was blessed to be studying with them. And then I got a lot of inspirations from them too, a lot of motivations. I still do. And yeah, that Kingston, their program like lets you to think about like what you want to do, like what kind of style you want to, purchase, you want to chase as a freelance illustrator, because not every illustrator should have the same style. So they give you time to think about like what you really want to do, and they give you feedback about like what people will think about your new style, if you have any new style, and then that really helps because they are the ones who are famous in their own fields, and they're giving you that feedback, and it really helps too. So especially when I was like making my own design, the small book, I used to get a lot of feedback about like how to form a story, because a lot of those tutors do have an experience of making their own book, and drawing illustrations for the book, and they taught me a lot of like how to make people understand what you want to talk by those drawings, and it really helped.
Cool. And do you think it's important to maintain the same style as an illustrator?
Depends. I think if you have a definite style, it definitely does help. But if you're not thinking of becoming, okay, there's a two-way in freelance illustrations. One is you becoming an artist, and another one is just being a freelance illustrator, which means that you do any work that you get to fit the taste of the client. For example, if the client wants a specific style from other illustrator, such as let's say the Harry Potter book illustration style, you should be able to do that, not in your own style, in their style. But if you want to be an artist, you will have your own style that fascinates other people, and that should be enough. So I think there's two way, and if you want to choose either path, it really depends like which path you want to take. So it's not really important to keep your style if that's not your aim.
Yeah. And when you're doing client work, do you generally tend to stick to your style, or are you asked to change your style at all?
I stick to my style. I most of the times stick to my style, and I kind of push them to accept that, because they asked me to do that work, and I have this style, and I don't want them to change that, because it's not about this work, it's about the works that I will have in the future too, because the clients will see what I've done, and then it's like I'm making my own portfolio, and I push them to. I kind of softly push them to do it.
Yeah. No, but that makes sense. I mean, if they're asking you, then clearly they like your style, as opposed to the other way around.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I heard that, well, I didn't hear, I read that you had a bit of a shock when you went to Kingston, because, you thought that everyone was really good there. So did you kind of have imposter syndrome?
Yes. One thing for me was that I didn't do foundation. I went straight into the first year, and then guys there, they already had a foundation year. Then they knew what was going on, and it it was really my first time doing any of the projects with the drawing. The only thing I had done until then was, copying the photo or draw the real thing, and drawing the scenery or drawing people that I've seen, and that's what had been doing, and that's all I've known. And what they were asking in Kingston was to really think about the abstract things. They even had a class to, make a house, like a small house out of our own clothings. And that was like, what? Well, they kind of like try to put your creativity to the extreme. And, that was all new to me, and it was that's where I felt really hard. Yeah, getting into the course.
So how did you catch up with the other students, let's say?
I don't know. Like, I didn't really catch up at first year. First year, I didn't know like what to do, and I really had no idea. But then after the first year, I went to the army for 2 years, back in South Korea. It was like a compulsory thing. So in there, I had a lot of thoughts. I wasn't even sure about going back to Kingston after getting dismissed. But then before about like 2 to 3 months of the dismission, I kept thinking about like how to really accept there's what they teach in Kingston, and how to like what to really do, like first what's the thing that I should do to really get good at my grades. And then I kind of figured out like just accepting like what they teach. But then I started like accepting that, like, okay, they know what they're doing, and that's why I'm here for. And starting from that, I really started like learning from the second grade. I keep saying grades. It's the second year.
Yeah, so we talked about your Kingston experience and all of that. So let's talk about what you're doing right now. I mean, I've heard that you're preparing for an exhibition. Is that correct?
Yes, exhibition. I have 2 exhibitions coming, one in October and one next year. And one is actually is going now live on there's a big convention hall here in Korea called COEX, the underground panorama, which is like 100 meters TV basically. There's my work showing.
Wow, that's
up.
amazing.
And,
congratulations.
Yeah, it's quite amazing just for a month. And then I'm working on a few very interesting projects. That's why I'm not posting on Instagram recently, because I've been I've been tied up to these works. And then hopefully I can share them very soon.
Yeah, and what's it like preparing for an exhibition? Because I think you're probably the first artist I've interviewed who's got an exhibition. So what's it like? Tell us about it.
Until now I had about 4 exhibitions, 2 solo and 2 group exhibition, and another one coming in October is a solo exhibition. And as a freelance illustrator, having an exhibition is not much likely. I mean, not many of freelance illustrators do exhibitions because they're too busy to prepare for any.
Okay.
And they have a lot of work. And by the time I decided having an exhibition, I was quite free. I kind of regret now that I made it, but it's all good. I think it's interesting to, interact with the people who doesn't know my work and, completely fresh to my work, and they give me those feedbacks and they give me those ideas, like what they think about my drawings and how they feel. And that really helps me to, um, go on and improve my work. And I think that's the good thing about exhibition. And of course, some people will want to buy some of my art, and that's the one big thing about the exhibition too. And because one thing about freelance illustrator is that your income is unstable. It's not, it's not they're paying you every month, every time, continuously. You just have to find your work, and it's always important to find an opportunity to make your living. And then, exhibition is like one thing that helps me on that aspect too.
And have you gotten client work through exhibitions?
Let me think. Yeah, not directly, because it was not from exhibition.
Right.
Some of the clients that I knew, they didn't really gave me work before the exhibition, but they came to my exhibition, and after that they kind of like decided to give me some of the work. So not directly from the exhibition, I would say, but yeah, kind of.
Okay,
cool. Exhibitions kind of like gives me a lot of fans, like local fans. For example, if you're in, Berlin, or London, there's people completely are unaware of what you do, and those people come to this place and see your work and like it and become your fan, and that's a very interesting thing.
Yeah. So you've had exhibitions in Germany, right?
Yeah, I did.
And how's the experience differ from like Seoul to Berlin, let's say?
Berlin is a very wild place.
Really?
I don't know, because it was a multicultural event in Berlin. It was not like an exhibition. It was more like an interaction of the artists in Berlin. So I think there's a difference. I wouldn't quite say as an exhibition aspect, but it was quite wild.
Wild as in like just in terms of the multiculturalism aspect?
Yeah, and people are different. Here in South Korea, people are quite quiet, and they always keep quiet, even in the underground. They keep quiet. If you make like a small noise, they will all stare at you like, what noise are you making? That's what they do here. But in Berlin, it's quite free. Everyone's free, and I think that's the difference about like how they take the exhibition.
Was it a shock to you, kind of like the freedom, let's say?
Partially. Nightlife was quite shocking, but it was fun.
Because I feel like, because you lived in India, like surely you would have been exposed to, that kind of thing already.
Oh yeah.
So.
Yeah. But Berlin was on another level.
Okay. Interesting. All right. I wanted to ask, actually, it would be interesting to know, what advice would you give to your past self right before you moved to India, and then right before you moved to the UK? What advice would you give yourself?
Okay. To myself before India, I would tell to myself, don't get afraid. It's all gonna be fine. Because I was afraid that I would lose everything that I was building up until then, when I moved to India, and that was not true. Everything still kept going on, and I always had a place to be, and decision to make, a good decision to make. So I want to tell to myself, it's all gonna be fine. And to myself too, before the UK, I want to tell to myself, just be myself. I had a lot of free time for the first time in my life, going to UK, and then that really helped me in my work now, because I've experienced a lot in the first year. I've done a lot of things. Especially going to nightlife. That was all new to me, because back in India, as a foreigner, I was quite afraid going out in the real, at night.
Yeah.
And then in the UK, I was quite afraid to go out. So I just want to tell to myself, yeah, just enjoy. Go play.
Okay, well, I think I've asked all the questions that I wanted to say for this part of the interview, but do you have any comments or anything that you'd like to say before we end this?
Well, thanks for the good questions.
I hope you enjoyed this episode with Brian. I thoroughly enjoyed talking with him and learning how all of his experiences have kind of shaped him up until now. It was just super fascinating, super inspiring. And don't forget, if you're interested, you can check out the Korean interview on YouTube. The link will be in the podcast description, or you can head over to the Instagram at Pixel Paper Podcast and click the link in the bio. And you can also hear me stutter through my Korean. Anyways, I will see you next week for another fantastical episode on the Pixel Paper Podcast. Bye!